Greetings. This is Arvette McLean with Speak, The Universe Listens. New ways to view age-old challenges. Change your thoughts, change your life. Step into the bigness of you.
Hey guys.
Hey.
So I was really thinking, because lately I've been doing a couple of things like that other people seem to think is difficult. And I've actually talked about this topic before, how a lot of times when people see you doing certain things, they'll be like, oh, I know you worked hard on that, or you deserve that because you worked really hard on it, or you set a big goal and you really made it happen. And I'm like, no, I didn't work hard for that, and no, I didn't set a goal for that. Right. And so, you know, like trying to think about it and realizing that there was a time in my life where I would set goals and then I would work hard to accomplish them. And so just recognizing this huge shift that's taking place, and how this shift that is taking place in my life has made everything just easy. I just wanted to bring this conversation up again. So y'all have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, it's so funny that you say that, because I feel like, okay, so it's a couple phrases that always come to my mind, like work smarter, not harder, or like, you know, then the other one that comes to work is like, oh, you gotta work twice as hard for half as much. But like, I never subscribed to the second one at all. And the first one, like work smarter, not harder, I always felt like I was subscribing to that, but really I was just kind of I was only ever the second half of it. I just was refusing the work hard part. Also, like the smarter part, I'm not really too sure about. But it's always so interesting to me because, like, okay, I work on a project, whatever. Like, we just did a book together, and like now the conversations that everybody has is like, oh, that must be like amazing. I know you guys work so hard on it, like they tell you. And I actually feel a little odd whenever I have to like try and talk about it, because I'm like, well, no, not really. And then like, well, how did it go? And then when I start explaining, I'm like, this feels like I'm making it sound like it was nothing. And like it was something, but like I always feel like I downplay the work sometimes, because I just choose to never, like nothing has to be difficult. Like, so everything I feel is easy. So now whenever somebody asks me, how did you do that? I'm always like, oh, it was easy. And then I just say, oh, you just do this, this, and this. So yeah, I say all that to say, I know, I never understood why people always are so quick to label things difficult or label things hard. And I've always felt like I've done the opposite. I always label things easy, or like minimize whatever the process was to get it done.
Yeah, so back to what you were saying, like when people see you doing something they perceive as big, like us dropping a book, you know, your cartoon, things like that, they look at it like, oh, you must have really wanted that, because it had to have been hard to do all of that. When really, you did most of those things because it was something you enjoyed. It was fun. It was something different. It was a new experience. Like, it was a whole totally different feeling that you had. And so, yeah, people feeling like it had to be so hard is because we feel like our life have to be hard for us to get what we want.
I had somebody ask me not too long ago. They said, how do you do what you do? Like, as far as like with words of wisdom, they're like, I don't understand it, right? And I'm like, I'm at a point now, it's something that I love to do. So I learned that when you love to do something, it's never difficult. And even though somebody on the outside looking in, they're like, how? Like, it's just like, you have to be like studying, or you have to be doing X, Y, Z. And to me, I'm just so nonchalant with it. I'm like, nah, I'm just, it's just something that I love to do. And I just learned over the years that I did have a perception of when I wanted to do something, I used to always look at the obstacles that I had to overcome in order to make things happen. But when I sort of took that out the picture, anything that I wanted to do after that, it became easier because I just started doing, and I really wasn't worried about the things that I had to go through in order to make things happen.
Yeah, and it's like the space I'm in my life right now, I don't want to do nothing that I don't enjoy.
Right.
Like I don't want to have something that I feel like,
Yeah.
you know, like
Yeah.
I don't want that. And so I feel like a lot of times we feel like we have to do that in order to get what we want, or in order to get to what we want to do, but we really don't.
And I think both of y'all just said something too that really resonates with me, which is, you know, if you just love doing it, it's never going to feel difficult or hard, or like when you love doing it, it just happens. Because I often think about the time, I remember when me and you had started a podcast with our friend, like all I ever knew about podcasts at that point was I like to listen to them on a couple different apps on my phone. I have no idea how to record anything or anything like that. But when it was time for us to do it, we're going to start with the iPhone and we'll just do it right here. Then it was, oh no, we should get microphones. Then it was like, all right, well, like you should probably edit this. And it all just happened. So I feel like, you know, when you're doing stuff that you love, it happens a lot easier. But when you're doing stuff that you love with people that you love and enjoy, you never feel like it's ever even happening. You just look up and all the magic is just there.
Now, I can think of examples of, well, I can think of at least one example of doing something, well, I can think of a couple examples of doing something that I love, but it was still hard. So, for example, I love to run, and, you know, I love running marathons, but it was hard going out training, and, you know, you get to a certain mileage, and I just remember I would kind of blank out. Like, and I would run by myself, like long distances by myself, and I would get to a certain, and I already knew like I was just gonna blank out, so I would have my husband meet me at a certain mileage because I'm not gonna know what's going on. And so he would like meet me out there, and he'd be like, "How you doing?" I don't know. How much further you got? I don't know. Which you know, and I just didn't know. I just, you know, it was like it would get to a point where I just would blank out, but I would just keep running. Or the same thing with, you know, training to ride a bike 100 miles. Like in my training, it would be hard, but I enjoyed it. And then I think people who raise children, like a lot of people love being a parent, you know, but it can be hard. And so I guess I bring that up because I think we are so used to, I think as Rodney pointed out, that our life is supposed to be hard. Things are supposed to be hard. And even having a conversation to pretend like it's not hard is, you know, people be like, what? Like, yeah, that's hard or whatever. But really, like, what I have come to learn for myself is instead of me setting out to do certain things, like I said, I used to always plan. I would have a goal and, you know, I'm work to getting it or whatever. And whatever obstacle comes up, I'm going to just push it out the way, or I'm going to step on it, or I'm going to make it, you know. But it was all about, you know, getting to the next thing, getting. But the perception shift that took place, or that has taken place with me, that allows things to be easy, is one, I never set the goal in the first place. I never set a goal. I didn't set a goal to write a book. I didn't set a goal to do a cartoon. Like, I didn't set any of those goals. All I did was felt the feeling that I want to feel. So I feel joy, I feel love, I feel abundant, I feel like I'm an inspiration, I feel inspired. So I'm just feeling those things. And as I'm feeling those things, I'm radiating that. And then things that match that comes to me. And so I never had to sit down and be like, what's going to be the next sentence? You know, I didn't, that wasn't what happened. Had a conversation, and then I just channeled. And I wrote the book. And, you know, with the cartoon, I didn't go out and ask somebody, can you draw me a cartoon? You know, I didn't do that. Someone came to me and say, can I do a cartoon for you? And so, you know, eventually I say yes. But then I didn't have to draw the pictures, you know what I'm saying? They did all of that. So what was harder about it for me? Nothing. And so the perception switch is that go ahead and feel now what you want to feel. Feel it right now. Don't create the gap between where you are and where you want to be. Be there now. And in the being there now, things will just show up. That's probably better than if you had set the goal. Yeah. And definitely easier, and the timing will be right because the part of you that already knows how to orchestrate is going out ahead of you and pulling the people, the resources, the things together for you. You don't now have to go fight and figure out how to get this and how to get that. Right. It's already being done for you.
It's interesting you said that, because I was just thinking to myself, like, I'm working on a project for myself, right? And I've noticed the difference between me setting a goal versus me just doing it. So like when I went to go get my business license years ago for the handyman service, right? I sit back, I drew a business plan out, I mapped out everything of how I was gonna do this, that, and the third, what I needed, and so forth, so forth. Now, it's like, I just had this idea. I started getting pieces to, what I wanted for it to make it happen, and it wasn't nothing as to where I mapped out anything. It's just flowing and it's just happening. And so I noticed that was my perspective shift, pretty much. I learned that, you know, when you just start doing, it's no obstacles for you to even overcome. You just make it happen.
I think what both of y'all said, especially you and I, reminds me of a saying that I used to always hear athletes say, and I've been trying to flip, I'm changing what I think it means to me. But the saying was, you know, fall in love with the process. You know, just fall in love with the process, and then like everything will be like easier, or it'll all feel different. What I think that means to me now is like, fall in love with the process and you'll get like the result that you want at the end. Well, if at the end I want to feel happy and love, if I feel that all throughout the process, then I feel like I just have that throughout the whole time. So now for me, fall in love with the process means feel what it means exactly what you were saying, remove that gap. Like feel what you're looking for. Like if you want to be an astronaut, feel how it feels to be an astronaut. And fall in love with the process means like think about all the joys and things that you get when you're in that science class and that chemistry class and you're like, man, this test is hard. It's like, well, no, fall in love with the process of learning this type of stuff in this different language. And now when you're up in space and you're over here and you're looking at Mars, you're like, oh, I know that this is that calculation. Like, just fall in love with the process.
And what you're saying is exactly right. It's fourth dimension, and there's nothing wrong with fourth dimension. Doing it, setting a goal, working hard for it, that's third dimension, nothing wrong with that. I think what I'm describing is a fifth dimensional shift where I'm not saying it's not a process, but it's not even anything you have to fall in love with. Like it's just handed to you.
It's just coming in. I get it.
It's handed to you. You're not like saying, oh, I want to be an astronaut, and so now I got to take these classes, and I just need to love these classes. So that's fourth dimension, which is great. But it's still, you got to go through all that.
Still a process.
You still got to go through all that.
And you're still taking this test that you ain't really enjoying. You're just trying to find a way you enjoy it.
And nothing wrong. There's nothing at all wrong with that. It's just, I'm just talking about a fifth dimensional shift where things become effortless and easy. And I'm just putting it out there, like, so that people will know, like, things do not have to be hard. Whatever you want in life, it does not have to be a process, a hard process to get it. Yeah, like we always think anything worth having, we have to work for, we have to fight for. You know, that's just the name of the game. We got to be in the grind. You know,
sacrifice.
Sacrifice. Exactly.
That's the biggest one.
Exactly. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just hard. It's just a hard way of going about it. I've done it. You know, I've done it. So I'm not saying, you know, don't do it.
Right.
But like at this point in my life, I want to be happy, joyful, peaceful, loving. I'm not trying to hop obstacles and
jump over hurdles.
Exactly. You know.
I ain't looking to lose something to gain something.
Right.
I'm looking ahead.
But yeah, it's funny that you talk about things like not being difficult, like, and it doesn't have to be that way, and we don't have to like make things difficult, because this, I feel like I say it all the time, but this space is actually like a constant reminder of that for me, because I, like, every time I see the cameras, I always think like, oh, I remember when I first graduated from Longwood, I applied to like go do some video editing for a news station, had no idea what it was or anything like it. I applied, told the guy I had no experience. He was like, well, listen, I think you're a kind gentleman and I like your personality, so just come in and like take this, here's the software, study it the weekend, like see if you can learn it, and come in and like do this little test or whatever. Y'all, so he gave me like just a 30-second clip. Like, now that I know what I know, it's hilarious that I struggle so much on this. It's like a little 30-second clip, and he just needed me to put the sound to the video. That was foreign language to me. I was like, what is this I'm looking at? I sat there for about an hour and a half, no progress made. I'm like, man,
You could have studied in that.
it was nothing. I had nothing, y'all. But then I remember, like, when you came to us and you said, yeah, I think I want to do video. I still didn't know what to do, but somehow I just did when it was time. Like, I think about that all the time. And I just had a coworker just ask me about the podcast, and she was like, well, how did you get to editing? And I was like, honestly, don't know. It just started happening. So yeah, things definitely don't have to be difficult at all. And I think it's whatever you want usually does flow to you if you're in the right vibration. And I think that's exactly what happens when it came to that, my editing skills, honestly. I think it was just having conversations with y'all, and it was like, all right, look, this is what we want to do. This is what we're going to do. I got excited about like the idea of a video version of Speak to Universe Listens, and it was like, here.
So thank you guys for this conversation. And I just really want to drive home the whole point that there's nothing that has to be hard. And, you know, one thing I used to say, which is probably very fourth dimensional, is there's nothing hard if you know how to do it. Right? So I would always tell people that, like, people be like, it's hard. I'm like, it's not hard if you know how to do it. So it's just a matter of just knowing how to do it. And that's easy to find out. Like, we can find out how to do stuff. And like, a lot of times there may be things that I know, technically I know how to do it, but I might have been afraid to do it. But then I'm like, but I know somebody who's not afraid to do it. So that was my fourth dimensional way of dealing with the world. So a lot of things that, you know, I would figure out, well, how did you do this? I'll just figure it out. I'll just go study. I'll learn how to do it. And then I'm like, if it has something to do with like having to ask somebody for something or having to deal with other people, that's not me. Like, I'm not gonna ask anybody for anything, you know, like, I'll shut down. But I know somebody who asked for me. And so, like, a lot of times, you know, things that we think, you know, these are blocks for us, is really not. Like, it's easy to overcome without it being trauma and hard. But from a fifth dimensional shift perspective, it's a simple matter of being it right now. And it's really that simple. Be it right now. And if you're it right now, first of all, you're not going to miss whatever the thing is because you're already it.
Yeah.
But when you're radiating it right now, it's going to come to you in the physical. And so that's just the whole thing. Be it now, and then it will find its way to you. And the way it comes to you most of the times is going to be even better than had you set a goal and tried to get it. It's going to be better, bigger. You're going to love it even more. All right. Thank you again, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for joining us this week. And we look forward to chatting with you again next week. Until then, this is Arvette.
This is Steven.
Teron.
Rodney.